All right, so we are here at Fuse 6. My name is Jake. I'm the CMO here at Mortgage Champions, and I am delighted to be sitting down with the man, the myth, the legend, Scott Payne, who's over at Shape now.
It's funny you say man, myth, legend, because I feel like that's your dad.
That's also true. I guess
Okay.
there are multiple men, myths, and legends in
Yes,
this
okay,
industry.
you have multiple. Okay, that's
I mean, we've seen Todd Duncan on stage.
Yeah.
We've seen Matt Ishbia. I mean, there's quite a few
some
here at Fuse.
powerhouse people here, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
really
totally
cool. And what's cool, I saw like Matt Ishbia walking the floor and just talking to people like at the, I don't know if he came by here or not, but
We didn't see him over here, but I mean, Todd's been doing the same thing. Dale was here yesterday doing the same thing. So
it's
they're
just-
yeah.
It's cool. You see these guys that are, and it's like your dad, for a lot of people like your dad too, see them on stage talk a lot or on social media and stuff, and you just think there's, but they're real people like us.
That's right.
You
That's
got
right.
kids like us.
They'll talk to us mere mortals.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah,
Well, you got a lot going on.
I do. Yeah, we do.
Tell us about what's new.
So with SDP Solutions, as we've done a lot of work in the past, SDP Solutions. Where,
So let's break that down. So what kind of
Yeah.
work you've been doing?
Great call. So I had been a consultant, right? I started my own business in July of 2019 to help a couple of lenders at the time manage their CRM system, and realized over time, over my last, call it like 10 years prior to this, that there are a lot of companies out there that really struggled with. They'd have really, really good strategies.
Yep.
But executing those strategies was always really tough and very manual because they didn't have a system in place to really do it. And when they had a system, no one knew how to configure it to attack those strategies. No one knew kind of the ways to configure the different things. And so, I had the idea in 2019 that, and this is when rates were starting to tick down a little bit. I had the idea that, maybe I would go into consulting. I'm sure a lot of people probably know Brett McCracken over the years. Brett was actually like, hey, you're going to do this. You're going to be a consultant. And I'm like, well, this and that excuse, insurance, family, all that stuff.
Sure.
I said, you're going to do it. And by the way, you have a call with a potential client this afternoon as I was driving back from the Softview Summit. He said, I've already scheduled a meeting for you. Just show up.
That's awesome. I didn't know the story.
And so I did the call, and I took the call. It was weird at the time, but I took the call as like, okay, I could be, let me just be kind of a consultant type person. And I took the call this way, and I got off the call and I'm like, okay, that's what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. Because at the end of the call, the client was like, we need help with this. We need it. And this is a smaller lender. As I started to talk to other people in the industry about it, like, hey, would you be able to work with me as a consultant versus like an employee or whatever? Absolutely. Absolutely. It was just yes, everybody.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, all right.
Open doors.
And so I started SDP with 3 clients. 3 clients that I already talked to, including the one that Brett had given me on that call.
Okay.
And so I started that way. And fast forward, 3 or 4 years, we realized that, there were so many companies out there that needed administrative help, configuration, new setups, moving from one to another. And it really took off. And so I started to bring on team members, grew it. We had about 75 clients. We still do, 75 clients. But they use us for a number of different things. Could be day-to-day stuff. Could be every month they just need a quick call to walk through strategy.
Absolutely.
So,
and at this point in time, you're working exclusively with IMBs?
For the most part, yeah. Some banks too, yeah. Because that was always the thing.
So banks
too.
as well?
Banks as well, yeah. And, I had a partnership with Velocify at the time. And still do to this day. But a partnership that allowed us to, become a subcontractor of those. And really what that opened me up to do was to go to some of these bigger banks where the single consultant may not struggle, but just take forever to go through vendor management. I was able to subcontract through them.
Nice.
And, there's a percentage you lose with all of the business. But at the end of the day, it took a lot off my plate. It helped us grow our business, grow our network. And, at the end of the day, some people, they were at one company, they'd go to another company. Who they call? They call us, right? And so it just continued to grow and grow from that point.
Well, and the reason why I ask this is because we're here at Fuse, broker channel. That hasn't been predominantly with who you've worked with in your past role, but now you're at Shape, and you're here at Fuse. Walk me through it.
Yeah, so, SDP Solutions, we, over the last couple of years have started to get more and more clients who wanted to be in other verticals or were in other verticals. And at the time, the solutions we had didn't facilitate that. So we started on a journey about a year ago to go out and try to find a solution that we felt was something that, wasn't just the like what is the product now? We want to know roadmap. Like we were really investigative into the system and interview process. We interviewed 7 different companies, went through the process, understand roadmaps. We also wanted to like a good culture, someone that felt good, all of the stuff. And so we came across Shape, long story short. And so with Shape, gave us the opportunity to move into other industries, but they already had a massive mortgage background, and they had a lot of brokers already using the system, a lot of retail loan officers using the system already. And so having that allowed us to quickly expand into some of these industries, or not industries, but the different segments, right? Because I think most people would probably say, hey, Scott's probably more consumer direct, consumer direct LOs, et cetera. So it allowed us to move into those different segments, and really the tool itself, given the fact that you have a really good mobile app, like what are the things that someone who is not in a call center, what do they desire? They want to be able to do things mobily. They want to be able to do things very easily. They want to have the ability to track referral partners. And so Shape has all of it. And by the way, it's amazing. And as we demoed those, we're like, oh, wait a second. So like we have these big consumer direct clients who have all of these retail reps who are dying to have a solution like this. We could do that. And then you have the broker community in AIME. And we have so many people and our friends that are in this community, whether it's through the AIME organization or other vendors that work with them. And so as light bulbs started to go off and say, well, wait a second, we could go after a whole nother segment that we haven't gone after before. But at the end of the day, the best practices are very similar, right? Call, text, email, do it efficiently, fast, and track and all of those things. And so it all feeds back in. And so, that's why I'm here at the show.
So the messaging that we've heard from the main stage so far has been predominantly 2 themes. One, we're in a conversion market, which means you got to convert. So you better bring your A game when you're making that first contact.
No link pushing anymore.
You obviously optimize that first contact. You know what I mean? But then secondly, you need to have a customer for life mentality. And so it ain't over when you make the sale. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like that's almost just the beginning of the customer journey.
Absolutely.
And so I know in your work with SCP, and I'm sure with what you're doing with Shape, you guys are attacking both of those aspects of the business, which are highly relevant to broker success right now. 100%. How do you convert upfront, and how do you continue to build a relationship with that customer long term? So,
absolutely.
So walk us through, if a broker were sitting here right now and could pick your brain, which is a treasure trove of insight into how to do this well, what are the top tips you would give them for how do you optimize something like a CRM to convert upfront and then to maintain that relationship long term?
There's so many things I could say, but
we could talk for hours. I know.
I think that I've always talked about prioritization of records, but with Shape in general, the ability to look at so many different things of the process, right? With certain systems, you can only see the lead part. When I get to application, it's done. With Shape, we can go all the way through closing. We can go all the way through. Now we need referrals. Now we can track our referral partners, et cetera. And so there's this concept of prioritization, especially for that person who is wearing multiple hats. And usually a broker type person is wearing multiple hats. They're doing a lot of different things, and you got to be able to save them as much time as possible. And so the prioritization is important. But guess what? They're not going to go sit in front of their computer like other people would and just call. How do you do a combination of those things and make it to where they can do it on the go? So a good example I'll give you is that Shape is an amazing mobile app. It's taken a lot of time to build a mobile app, and actually the reason why, this is an important story for people to know, is that Shape uses Shape. You ask any of the other CRMs that are out there, no one else is using their own system, right?
So I did not know that. That's so interesting.
And it's so cool because we learn when we implement, hey, it would be nice if we had this or whatever. The reason why we have a robust mobile app is because we have employees that are in areas that have been affected by storms over the last couple of years. And they lose their internet access, but they have phone access, and they can do their work on a mobile app. So we built it to where our sales team can run their business and do everything that they need to do for their job on their mobile app.
Interesting.
And that then equates to, let's call it a broker.
Absolutely.
A broker is out and about, they're at a golf tournament, they're at this.
They're in the community.
They're in the community, and they don't have time to go sit at the desk and update things. And so that mobile app, literally, I've talked to many who will go to a meeting with a real estate agent, let's say at lunch. It is critical they need to update information so that the next thing in the process can happen. So what do? They get into their car, they pull up the mobile app, they go to the note, they pull up the lead, they go to the notes, they hit talk to text. Had a meeting with this person, list it all out. Change status, done.
Wow.
And now it's updated on the go, and I can move on to the next thing. I don't have to remember to go back and update something. I don't have to remember to do these things. So that mobile app has been a huge deal for a lot of people, and we're just at the beginning of this. Like,
oh sure,
we're meeting every day about, okay, well, how do we leverage AI into that?
Yeah,
so
sure.
like if I'm doing talk to text, well, ChatGPT type solution, could we like summarize notes, or could we maybe automate that status change, where we could automate the hey, I need to follow up next week. Well, we heard that, we know that now. Why don't we go ahead and schedule that?
Just plug it. Yeah.
And so we're starting to do those things now.
Okay.
So if you think about a broker, they're not going away.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
No.
Like a salesperson is not going away. What can we do to make their lives easy?
Yep.
Making it easy to, hey, when I'm done with the meeting, and do this. What if I had a phone call with someone, and what if that call could be transcribed? Well, if it's transcribed, we're now able to use ChatGPT to maybe do this and plug it in and take all the actions. And so all they do, maybe the world looks like in the future, all they do is sell. Or maybe all they do is build relationships. Yeah. And they don't have to go in and do all of the monotonous work of typing and telling the system what to do. Yep. That's the world I want to live in. Salespeople not having to worry about that stuff. And then at the end of the kind of spectrum, marketing, executive team, you can start to trust your data. I think there's a lot of hesitancy. People are hesitant to trust their data because they're like, are my people using it the right way? And most of the time they're not.
Yep.
So, I went probably like from here to there and all over.
But because there's so much there that I've not been a broker myself, but I used to sell insurance and was a financial advisor for a little while. And so it's very similar sales environment where you're in coffee shops and stuff. You're like constantly in your car, working out of your trunk. Right. And it was incredibly important to be very studious when you're in conversation with someone, really get to understand them, take tedious notes, and then put those notes somewhere quickly, because otherwise you forget them, you lose them, you name it, and you're losing invaluable information about that customer, ways you could serve them, you know what I mean? Even details about who they are, their life, their family, that can continue, if you leverage those, you know what I mean? Yeah. You can kindle conversation that builds relationships. So I think it's absolutely critical to mention that.
A good example real quick.
Please, yeah.
So when you're taking notes, something I do, because I also now use Shape, I'm part of Shape, and we use Shape to update things along the way. I use, and some people may know, a Remarkable 2. It's like the tablet. The tablet thing you write on, right? Yeah. So because of the way that Shape is set up for integrations, and they use Zapier a lot for stuff, and it's all built into the system, which is huge. As
the marketing person on our team, I'm constantly in Zapier.
So you know Zapier very well.
I know it, yeah.
Yeah, and so I've learned a little bit. I'm not super savvy with it yet, but I built an integration. This is how flexible Shape is. I built an integration with my Remarkable tablet. Where when I go to a meeting and I handwrite notes, I have to write legibly. Sure. Pay attention to do that part, because then I do convert notes to text. Yep. Converts it to text.
Which the Remarkable does.
Remarkable does that automatically. And then I press a button to send an email. And to send an email, I have it go to the certain email address. Yep. And then I just need to have, and I have this at the top of every notebook that I'm in, the lead ID in Shape. Yep. I put that in the subject line. Yep. And you can pass that through as a variable. Yep. And then it posts into Shape as a note. Incredible. And I can decide whether I want it to just be an image. If I know that I'm writing fast, it's not going to be able to do it right. So I just send the image of it. Versus I wanted to, I took good notes, converted to text and go over that way. So, and I did that in 6 minutes and 32 seconds. That integration to get that built into our Shape system and I time myself.
That's incredible.
And so, it's
the amount of time and money that would have taken 10 years ago. Yeah. Individual brokers, even without all of the resources that they have, which they have tons now, you know what I mean, can watch a YouTube tutorial, figure these things out, and drastically make their life so much more efficient. Yep. At the same time, serve their customers better, because they're taking that time to take these tedious notes, really get to know their borrower, and then they can reference that back, and they can refresh their memory before they make those calls. So let's, because we're trying to shoot for about 15 minutes. I know you're a busy man, you got things to do, people to see, but let's talk about continuing to follow up and build that relationship over time. Dale obviously all the time talks about a customer life mentality. Right. We heard Todd Duncan, I thought this was brilliant. He said this: you will not have customers for life unless you call them during their life, right? And so what is he saying there? Don't just call them when you want to talk business. Just give them a call on a semi-regular basis and just ask, what's going on?
How are you doing?
Yeah, how are the kids? How are the wife? Have you played golf lately? I know you're into golf. Whatever it is, you know what I mean? Talk to them about their life. And then we just heard Matt Ishbia say today, if he were a loan officer today, what he would do with every single customer is he would call them quarterly. So I know myself.
Yep.
I'm sure a lot of brokers listening to this know themselves. I'm not diligent enough, and I'm a pretty diligent person with all of my customers to call them quarterly. You know what I mean? To set that up. So how can a broker leverage a CRM, Shape or otherwise, to be able to put those things in place so that they're faithful to do that and keep that customer for life?
So I'm going to answer this question quick because I may not be able to get back to it in time with
Gotcha.
the other part I want to tell you, but that's the prioritization point of it.
Yeah.
It is hey, it's been this amount of time and you need to call them back. Now, I would say though, is every customer is not just a generic 3 months. Like they mentioned every quarter, every 3 months. That's not the case for everyone. There might be relationships that you built that it needs to be once a month, or there needs to be relationships that maybe it's okay to be every 6 months, maybe.
Sure.
But the idea is that the prioritization structure of those things in a system like Shape, we can build it to say, let me give you an example similar to this.
Yeah.
So in Shape, you can track your referral partners. Okay, referral partners are much like customers. You have to nurture them. You have to make sure that you're talking to them. You have to make sure you're like all of these things. They're a referral partner for life, all of these things. So Shape has prioritization for your referral partners. And for a couple of clients now, we've set it up to say, we've gone in and said, hey, loan officer or broker, rate your book of 100 real estate agents you work with on a scale of 1, 2, and 3. 1 being your best, your VIP, you always get lots of stuff from. 2 from they're not quite a VIP yet, but you want them to be.
Sure.
And 3 is maybe you just met them.
Sure.
Give us in that order.
Yep.
When we load them in, we load them with a 1, 2, or 3, and each of those 1, 2, or 3 have different ways to follow up.
Okay.
And we're using data to know when's the last time you received a record or a lead or a customer from one of these people.
Wow.
So, for example, if I have let's say a 2, they're not a VIP yet, but I want to get them there. Well, how do I get them there? I got to build the relationship. So, in a priority view, we would say if it's a 2 and it's been a month since you received a record from them, it's a priority to call them and check
give
in.
a call. Yep.
Imagine trying to figure that out for 100 people across the board, et cetera, right? So,
I mean, it can be done, but it's a tour de force.
It is.
I mean,
it's hard.
just, and it's not a laziness issue.
Yeah.
It's just life.
How you find time.
You just
Absolutely.
have to be hyper organized and hyper focused. And
so, and so to tie all that in, one thing I didn't like about Todd's thing, we would say didn't like, or just would add to,
sure.
with Matt,
Of course.
would be like, we got to stop calling it a phone call. Stop calling.
Okay.
Right? Calling's important, no doubt. You need to talk to them, but there's other components that should happen. So, for example, let's say we do call every quarter. Great. You do need to pick a phone, talk, and interact. But you also need to be sending a video along the way.
Okay.
So maybe it's hey, every month or every 2 months, you send a check-in video.
Yep.
And what it is, literally, you just turn the camera around and you say, hey, Jake, hey, how you doing? Last time we talked, your son was playing soccer. How'd that turn out?
Yep.
You got a new puppy. How is that going? Like, you need to be able to reference really quickly, which I would love to talk more about that part. I know we're going to have time. But using AI to understand a customer's entire situation, like we're building some stuff in Shape where we would give them, here are the top 3 things you should talk about when you call them.
Wow.
Versus having to go dig through the notes and understand this.
Yep.
We just look at it all and say, here's 3 things you should talk about.
That's incredible.
Or their puppy was named, this a year ago. Check in when you call them a year from now.
So if a broker is faithful to take those notes, then they're gonna get the payback of the software can serve back conversational kindlers, if you will.
Take the notes, but again, we get to a world where we're summarizing those notes for you.
Well, sure, absolutely.
Right.
And when you look into borrower intelligence platforms and other things that are emerging in the market, there's a lot of data enrichment to be done to understand who your borrower is and how you can continue to make points of contact.
Yes.
Awesome.
So, but again, it is important to follow up. I think it's also important to add video into the mix. And one of the things we're building, or already have an integration with like a BombBomb today, where you can record a video in BombBomb.
Yep.
You can pull it up into your Shape, and you can choose the video and attach it to an email or text. Where we're going is you'll be able to record that BombBomb video or a video inside of Shape.
Yep.
And we would give you a priority view that says, hey, don't call this person, send a quick video to them. Here's 3 things to talk about. You turn the camera on, hit record, done, and then it goes out to the customer.
Wow.
And better yet, guess what? Because you're a data guy, we can track. Did they open the video, how long they watch, how engaged are they? And maybe that shifts because you closed a good transaction for someone, but they're not engaging with your videos.
Yep.
I'm not going to wait till 3 months to call them back.
Right.
I got to readjust that. Maybe I need to call them 2 weeks later, a week later, to have that phone call versus let it sit and wait.
Yep.
And just be a generic quarter, right? So I mean, anybody who knows me that's watching this knows how crazy ideas that I can get, right? But the cool thing is, over the years, we have figured out ways to do it with workarounds, with integrations, et cetera. And what I love about Shape is that we're actually like moving the needle to put stuff like this as part of the system that makes it to where everyone can use it, and it's not a workaround. It's like just the way that it should be done.
Yeah. Well, and you're preempting the last question I had for you, and so we're probably over time already. But the question that I wanted to ask you last was, I feel like you've more than proven the case that every broker should have a CRM.
Absolutely.
And that it should be a good CRM. Possibly Shape, you know. But I think one danger potentially to the broker channel is for them to treat their CRM the way that an IMB or a bank would, right? And to sort of lose the personal touch that's so special about the broker relationship, if you will. And so doing things like taking meticulous notes, finding ways to kindle conversation based on previous conversations, sending personalized videos, like all of that combats that feeling that can come across sometimes with the CRM where it's like, okay, I did a loan with you, and now some sort of automated email thing is sending me cooking recipes and house improvement videos. And you know what I mean? It's like, it's not bad, but it doesn't feel like a person is reaching out to me to truly check on me and ask, how are you doing? And I'm still appreciative of the business that we've already done.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So is there any other last tip that you would give of how does a broker maintain that personal connection using a CRM?
I mean, so we talked about, a little bit about scoring, right? Like there needs to be a mechanism in which, because not every customer is the same, so that's kind of maybe a scoring mechanism. We have what's called Shape IQ, okay? And what every broker out here does right now is they are probably doing a lot of purchase loans. And I would bet a lot of them are doing purchase all throughout. And they'll do some refinances when they come up or cash out or whatever. But what's cool about our Shape lead scoring system, or it's called Shape IQ, is that it learns over time. Every broker, would imagine, is going to adjust over time how they do business and what they are good at, or what maybe lead sources they're good at, right? And so a lot of them, know some about marketing, but they may not be able to take the time to really dig in to know that this lead source is now converting better than this lead source, or this referral partner, every time they send me a lead, it converts every time, versus every time this one sends me them, they don't convert, or they're way too high in the funnel. And so we're down to be able to take the data that we learn about interactions with the system or closing data or whatever it is. We're able to take that data and we're able to then score it automatically. So when it comes to the prioritization is literally it's like what you should be doing. Exactly. There's 100%. No thinking about it whatsoever. There's no thinking, am I calling the right lead source? Is this person going to convert? We can even prompt hey, this person's conversion rate has gone down, the realtor partner. Put that in the priority queue. Hey, you need to follow up. Maybe you need to do an education for the real estate agents and a broker. And so go spend some time with them there. Give them things and insights that they didn't know, and probably going to take a while to find out. By the time they find out, how late is that? And so we, again, my mission is to get salespeople to only sell. The days of, I remember back, and this is back when I worked with Dale really early on as a loan officer, way back in the day, was, coaching sales managers to be able to be coaches and not manage pipelines and manage, you need to coach, you're a trainer, you're within your own team. And loan officers, you need to be selling. Stop worrying about processing. Stop worrying about this stuff. Sell. Imagine we'd have a software that could get us there where a salesperson can sell, a manager can coach and manage, and everything else takes care of itself because all of the minutia is out of the way. And I can just focus on these things. And Jake, I'm going to get there. Promise.
It's exciting.
We're so close.
Because this industry would be truly unhinged, you know what I mean, in the best of ways. Maybe it would just be free to run, At
the end of the day, guess who benefits? Obviously everyone in this room benefits.
The consumer.
The consumer benefits,
ultimately
right?
The consumer. If salespeople, if they come in the morning and their 100% focus is how can I have the best conversation with every person I get to talk to today, and how can I give them the most value and serve them to the best of my ability versus dealing with all of this other stuff, changes the whole game.
Big time.
Scott, we love you.
Yeah.
You have been a faithful partner, not only of our business, but of our nonprofit, Mortgage Professionals Finding Hope. I want to thank you for that continued support. It's incredible. You've impacted so many lives in this country, across the world.
Proud to be a part of that, man. Yeah, for real.
Can't even tell how grateful we are for you. So where do people find you? Where do they find Shape? And do you think you'll be back here at Fuse next year? Oh, absolutely, yeah. We're here to stay. Shape's worked with the broker community for a while now. They just haven't, been out advertising. We have a lot of partners that I see just right here. But really,
where to find us. So the website address is setshape.com, SETshape.com.
Okay.
But we're doing lots of stuff. I'm doing lots of stuff on LinkedIn, doing lots of stuff on Instagram.
Yep.
So, I think
You
a
got
lot
your own
of people,
podcast.
I have my own podcast.
Where do people find that?
So it's called Lead Management Masterminds. Is the old one, but we have a new one now called Shapeshift.
Okay.
Shapeshift, me and Jimmy Ryan, for those who know Jimmy.
Love Jimmy.
Yeah, and he's so good at that. So he's like the main kind of host.
The host,
and
you're
I'm
the
the
co-host. You
color
just get to come when
commentary
you
who
want.
comes on. I
Color
just come on
commentary,
and give a couple questions here and there. It's awesome. Makes my life a lot easier as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, Shapeshift. It's a podcast. Setshape.com. Check out. Always can message me. I'd love to talk to people and walk them through the system itself.
Love it. Scott, thank you so much for the time. If you don't know Scott, if you need help with how to optimize your CRM or just put one in place in the first place, Scott's your man. Get in touch with him or get in touch with the Shape team.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it.